Some chapters in a book are long and some are short. Some are happy and some are sad. Some chapters in a book make you laugh and some make you cry. Here in Genesis chapter 37, it's a sad chapter. Welcome to the Word for 2021. 25% of the book of Genesis is devoted to Joseph. Now, Joseph is a stark contrast to the carnal, dysfunctional living that we've heard about and read about in these earlier chapters of Genesis. But now, beginning in chapter 37, we read about Joseph, and Joseph is totally different. Now, Joseph was 17 years of age when we read about him. He is a naive teenager. God has given him dreams that he shares with his brothers and with his mother and his father. Now, these dreams talk about the future. And because of the fact that Jacob loved Joseph more than his other brothers and these dreams that he had, his brothers hated him. And not only did they hate him, but they wanted to kill him as well. So beginning in chapter 37, we have some painful pages about Joseph. It starts with bad parenting. Jacob makes bad decisions. First, he plays favorites with his children. He uses one child against another. Because of that, Joseph, he experiences rejection and hatred, ridicule. He experiences hurt and abuse. He's lied about. He's thrown into a pit. During a pit, we oftentimes start to question. We question God's love. We question his faithfulness, and we question his ability. Why does God allow bad things to happen? If God really loved me, why would he be letting this happen? If God was able to do all things, why doesn't he get me out of this situation? And will God really take care of me? Does God really care? Those are the questions that we ask when we're in a pit. And I'm sure that Joseph was probably asking those very same questions. Now, the temptation is that we will continually play the victim. We'll continually let those bad chapters in our life dictate how we feel, what we think, and what we think our future is going to be. But what we need to do is not ask the question, why? Why is this happening? We shouldn't be asking for an explanation, but we should be asking for a revelation. God, what are you doing in my life? What are you trying to say to me? Are you trying to teach me something? The pit is a place of preparation. And to get out of a pit, it's more about attitude than it is about power. And as we read about Joseph, he had the right attitude. No matter what was happening in his life, his devotion was to God and allowing God to speak to him and to lead and to guide him. He wanted to please God no matter what. And as we read about Potiphar and Potiphar's wife, we understand Joseph's attitude. When Potiphar's wife, in later chapters, presses herself upon Joseph to have relations with him, what does Joseph do? He refuses. And he said, how can I sin against Potiphar, but how can I sin against God and do this evil thing? He knew that God was always watching over him. And so he did not want to displease his heavenly Father. Here in chapter 37, we're introduced to Joseph. It's a sad chapter. There are many sad chapters. There's 13 years of difficulty that he goes through. But after 13 years, then God's plan is revealed. During these bad chapters of Joseph's life, we understand that God has a plan that he is working out. And everything changes in an instant when he's 30 years old. So what do we learn from Joseph and here in chapter 37? Number one is that God has a plan. Number two, even despite difficulties, God's plan will be revealed. And third, we need to continue to trust God no matter what's happening around us, because God's plan is bigger than we often see or understand. So when we're going through difficulties, bad chapters in our life, don't look for an explanation why, but look for a revelation. What is God wanting to say and what is he wanting to do? Because God's plans are bigger than we can imagine. Thank you for joining the Word for 2021.